Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night, everybody. This is the Soul Advisor coming at you today, and there is another person who has submitted a request, submitted an issue that they have that I wanted to help address. As you can see from the screen, it's just our regular Soul Advisor logo with that nice little background. It's a wonderful PowerPoint that put together. I wanted to kind of address this issue because I had seen a couple other people put through the kind of a similar issue yet different. This one was very well written and it kind of explains lots in depth of who they are as a couple with their children and their family. And that makes it easier for me and for you to help this person kind of get a perspective of what it is that could help him with his issue. And I'm going to move through the slides here to get to the problem in just a minute. I want to make sure everybody knows to check out our Facebook at facebook.com/souladvisor1. There is a 1 after it. Regular Soul Advisor is already taken. So I kind of made the same thing. If you go to Twitter, follow us on Twitter at souladvisor1. And then also on YouTube, youtube.com/c/souladvisor1. You'll be able to follow us. Please like, subscribe if you like the video, and please subscribe as I will be doing more of these videos. I want to get to it weekly. It's been a month since I touched my last one. I've been trying to get the website together. I want to make it into an app so everyone has the ability to get it on their iPhones and their Android phones and submit problems that way, as I think that is a huge avenue that makes it easier for people to kind of submit their things right when they're happening that is making them upset or that is causing an issue for them. And I want to get into this today to kind of cover this kind of an issue that does seem to happen an awful lot. Now, an overview of what Soul Advisor is the same that we always have. We help with relationship issues. If people are stressed at work, if you have family problems, which don't necessarily have to be, with a relationship, it could be with kids, it could be with a neighbor, someone, an extended family, cousin, aunt, uncle, or whatever. If you're concerned about your kids, if they're skipping school or if they're being defiant at school, things like that. I've had many years of experience working with kids and the families. Kind of overcome those issues when the kids don't want to listen or they're not accepting no for an answer and things like that. Or if you just need to vent, if there's just something that happens, like someone cuts you off in traffic or flips you the bird or whatever, and you just need to vent about something, please feel free to visit souladvisor.com, the website, and you can submit your problem there. It gets emailed directly to our group that kind of sorts through everything and kind of groups according to certain issues and things like that. I'm here to help. I'm the one that kind of gives the advice, and like I said, I have many years of experience working with kids and families, getting through issues. I'm registered minister with Universal Life Church, also a soul therapist, again registered with or certified through the Universal Life Church and things like that. And I have years of experience of helping people, and I'm just here to help. There are times you feel like you can't turn to your husband or your wife or a best friend because it might involve them. Maybe it's someone that you secretly, your best friend that you love, you've been friend zoned for so long, and they'd be the person that you would go to, but you can't because it's about them, and you just need some help, you just need some advice, maybe a fresh idea to jump out of that friend zone and maybe into that person's life in a different way. I'm here to help. So we're going to jump into this issue today with the troubled marriage. And that's someone that needs help. And this is all of what he had written about the whole issue as best as I could condense it down and still make it readable for everybody. So that way you can see his wording and exactly how he wrote it. I did not change anything. I didn't edit it or anything like that. I'm going to read through it quickly so we all have the same idea as far as how I interpret it when he wrote it. He says, "My wife and I have been married now for 13 years. We have 4 kids ranging from 3 to 12 years of age. And while we've had minor problems in our marriage, I never thought that things would be how they are now. We've always been extremely affectionate and caring towards each other. We've been best friends and always by each other's side through thick and thin. We never had more than a couple of friends, and they were all common between us, but not extremely close. Occasionally, I was forced to leave for 5 days at a time for work. I work at a family owned business, so that adds more stress to our marriage. And she would be extremely upset about my absence. One of the absences a week after the birth of our third daughter, when she was going through a difficult bout of postpartum. She had a difficult time with me out of town. A baby with colic, and a pre-K and first grade aged girls running around. We fought the whole time I was gone, but reconciled after I returned, and she had a few weeks to calm down. Now, around this time, my wife wanted to go back to school to pursue her degree, and I was able to support her in doing so. She since has been working part-time in a local hospital. And after the birth of my son, my wife started to experience symptoms of multiple sclerosis. We were back and forth between neuros and other specialists trying to come up with a diagnosis, but never were able to find one. Through it all, we remained together and strong. The symptoms seemed to recede after 4 months, and things have been better health-wise for her. In the meantime, I've been able to eliminate the out-of-town trips. This past year or so, life has been extremely hectic. Both my older daughters play travel softball, with my wife coaching one of the teams. We would both go to all the games, which usually consisted of me watching the younger two while my daughters played and my wife coached. Throughout practices and coaches, my wife became friendly with many of the parents, as did I. Pretty soon, though, my wife started to withdraw, and I found myself watching the kids more and more while she went out practices. Then over to the other parents' houses with the older two. She would be texting other parents constantly, on Facebook more often, just disconnected. More recently, she has started going out once a week with a group of coworkers from her hospital, and has been much less affectionate towards me. She no longer would snuggle in bed, hold my hand without prompting, etc. Complete 180 from how our life used to be. Sex started to become monotonous, and when I brought all this up to her, she said she wanted to be her own person, that we were too close, but that she agreed on the sex and would try to spice things up. Last week, after I came home from work, she ended up going out with friends almost every night. I've had this pit in my stomach and couldn't take it any longer. When I talked to her about it, she grew upset, saying that for years she's been telling me I needed to be more attentive, and that if I kept it up, she wouldn't be like that any longer. I can't snuggle with her, sit next to her on the couch. If I call her during the day, I'm being smothering. If I text her too much, I'm being smothering. She wants space to reconsider her life and who she is, and I just feel like crawling into a hole. I love this woman so much and would move heaven and earth for her. I try to talk to her about it, but it just ends up in an argument. She constantly brings up when I was out of town, and how she felt then is how I feel now, and that she needs space and I need to give it to her. In the meantime, she's still going out to bars with friends. She's lost weight and is at her college figure. She's buying her new cocktail dresses and outfits and looks amazing. Then she goes out wearing them to clubs with friends. I don't think she'd ever cheat. Her mother cheated on her father when she was in her late teens and still has issues about that. I feel so hopeless, as it's almost impossible to spend time with her when she's with other people all the time. And to top things off, we're set to close on a house in 11 days. I cry myself to sleep more often than not, and my kids have caught me a couple of times tearing up. She wants her space and says when she's ready she'll come to me, but all I want to do is hold her close and not to let her go. Now that definitely does sound like a troubled marriage. He says they've been married for 13 years. Excuse me while I adjust my seat there. That's kind of a big close up. But for 13 years they've been married. So they have 4 kids from 3 to 12 years old. Now that tells me right there that they have a very busy life from 3 to 12 years of age. That is, probably, like he said, softball and a whole bunch of other activities that these kids are in, just besides the regular school stuff. Now that can be stressful in a marriage in and within of within itself. Let's see if I can speak correctly here. Now they've had some minor problems in the marriage. He mentions early on in the message, but they've always gotten through them. Through thick and thin, these two were together. And his perception of it is that when he was out of town and she had to deal with her own postpartum depression, um, the 2 daughters that were in pre-K and first grade, and then a baby that was colicky. That was when he had only the 3 kids, I'm assuming, before the 4th kid came along. Um, and that was a lot of stress to put on his wife at that time. Uh, being, he had to go out of town for the company business, or for the family business, excuse me. And he says that he was out of town for 5 days at a time for work, probably Monday through Friday, and then he'd be back on the weekends. And that is a lot of time that he misses with his family, but it's a lot of work for the mom, as there's a kid in first grade, pre-K, and then a baby at home too. So she has to get all 3 of them ready, get herself ready, and get them all to where they need to go on time. Much less, feed them and clothe them, make sure everything's okay, and everything. And then he was just out of town working. And she's throwing that back in his face, to me, it sounds like, towards the end of this email, saying that now he feels what she felt like when all that stuff was happening, when he was out of town, which he couldn't control as part of his job. And now she feels like she can throw that back in his face and saying, well, now you know how I felt those years ago. So she never got really past all that stuff that happened when he had left years ago, and she's putting that back on him now. And number one, that's not fair to either of them, for him to have had to go for that long of a time, or for her to throw that back in his face at this point in time. That should have been something that they dealt with when it originally had happened. Now, I think that in the beginning of the email, when he says that they'd gone through thick and thin and they were by each other's side, I think that is more his perception of it than hers. I think because she's throwing this back in his face now, she never really dealt with the fact that she was home alone with the kids and, for 5 days at a time, and he was out, and she assumed that, when he was working, he was done with his work through the day and went back to the motel and, just laid around and did nothing. Or maybe he went out to eat with some friends at that time, some coworkers. And so now she feels like she wants her life. I'm not sure of how young these people are. They've been married for 13 years. So let's say they got married when they were when they were 18. So they'd be 31 right now. She might feel like she has missed her younger age of her life. He says that she's gotten back into her college figure. She's lost enough weight that she's back in her college figure. And maybe she's doing that because she feels she needs to try to relive those years that she's missed. That's my take on the whole thing. And I think that is completely unfair of her to do that to the children, much less to him. If she feels that that's kind of something that she needs to do, is to go out with friends every once in a while. Maybe she feels like he was too possessive or too smothering, and his perception is that they were so close and affectionate that they were by each other's side through thick and thin. I think there's that disconnect between what their perceptions are of their relationship, and perhaps has been for many years. And she has bottled things up and has not, and or possibly will not, discuss these things with him because she doesn't know how to talk about all these issues that are going on with her. He mentions towards the end of his email that he doesn't think that she will cheat on him because her mother cheated on her father in her late teens, and she had seen how that had affected the entire family. And that is a very good possibility that she won't cheat on him because she has seen that, but you can also play devil's advocate for that and say that that is a reason that she might, because she had seen that her mother had done it to her father. And it, it's hard to say how she would react. Maybe in her perception, that could be an okay thing. She feels like she's spent her time with him. She's raised these kids to this point, and now he needs to step up and help raise these kids as well. That's my perception of this email, is that she is trying to relive her younger years and thinks that she can disconnect from the entire family and go out every night um, of the week to bars in her cocktail dresses to hang out with her own friends. And she's also friends with the parents of the other softball uh, team members, and she coaches one of the teams. So going out with those parents is kind of a huge boundary issue, because as the coach, she should be the one that sets that boundary, that the kids are expected to do certain things, as are the parents, and the coach is definitely at a higher standard as well. And I think that's something that perhaps she really needs to take a look at with herself. What does she want to be? He mentions in her email that she needs space and time to figure out for herself who she really is. And I think that is really a good point right there that he is kind of glossing over. She does seem to be stuck in who she is not rather than who she is. She has it figured out. You know, she's got to coach the softball team, and she probably makes the lunches for the kids and takes them to school or whatever. And I'm sure he helps out too. With 4 kids, I would hope both parents are working out for the kids' sake. But I think another big point is her going out at night. She's missing out on her kids' life in the nighttime. There's that whole routine of winding down, reading stories to the younger ones. Even, it says their oldest one is 12. So even at that age, you can still read them stories, tuck them into bed at night, kiss them on the forehead. And then as an adult, you should be at home also. You should be getting yourself wound down. You should be getting yourself into bed and being a responsible adult. He said that she works part time for a local hospital. How part time that is, I don't know. I don't know if she works mornings, afternoons, evenings, overnight shifts, whatever she has to work, she has to work, I'm sure. Hospitals, they need people at certain times, and that's just the way it is. But I think she has completely overstepped her boundary as a parent and isn't parenting the children correctly. And in my opinion, that's the number one concern, is the kids. After that, you can take care of yourself, take care of your husband, in whichever order you want to prioritize that. Common sense would say you would put your partner ahead of you, but then you take care of yourself too. Obviously, this gentleman who wrote me this email, his needs aren't being met in this relationship, in this marriage anymore. And he's worried because they bought a new house and they're going to be closing in 11 days. And if she's not fully committed to being an adult in a relationship with this man at this point in time, and she wants to relive out her 20s or her 30s, or however, whatever age bracket it is that she feels that she has gone past, and I'm assuming it's her 20s because of the way that she's acting, that he is concerned that he's going to be stuck with this brand new house and 4 kids and a wife who could possibly be an ex-wife who is just gallivanting around town. And I think that he is very valid in his concern. And I think the number one and most important thing that he needs to do is sit down and talk with her calmly. And if she starts getting upset, take a little break, and then come back to it and still continue to discuss what it is. Who does she think that she feels she needs to be in order to satisfy herself in her life? Because he's completely satisfied with her from his email. It sounds like he loves her. He'd move heaven and earth for her. He wants her back in his life the way that it should be. He mentions the multiple sclerosis with her, that might have been a big scare to her, and she might feel like she has missed out on so many things, that she really wants to get into those things for herself. And I could completely see that. And I think that if it's receded at this point, I think that it would be a very uh, good thing for her to discuss with her husband, that might have scared the crap out of her. And so now she feels like she needs to fix up or make up time that she feels that she's lost by having 4 kids with this man. And that's just my opinion on this whole matter. Um, it's tough, when I first started this video, this covers a lot of other types of relationship issues that I've gotten through the email of people not feeling like their partner is 100% vested in their relationship anymore. And it's not an easy thing to deal with. Like this couple have been married for 13 years. Marriage counseling, I would completely 100% suggest. Um, and I think that really needs to get done. But if one of you doesn't want to do it, or both of you don't feel like that's really going to help, then I think that it might be a good time to really sit down and have a serious talk about what your expectations are in the marriage at this point in time. Are you both expecting to be there for the kids until they're all 18? Or is one of you more committed than the other in getting, the kids grown up and then having your lives? Because if you don't put your kids first, who are you putting first? Yourself? That sounds selfish to me. You've made these kids, you brought them into this world. They are your responsibility 100%, bar none. As a parent myself, that's how I parent. I put myself second or third, depending on, whatever the situation calls for. And my kids are always first. And if it's not going to be like that for her, and she's putting herself first right now, she's acting very selfishly, and she needs to be held accountable for that. Our society doesn't hold people accountable anymore. We're all, we can play a victim and be like, oh, well, this other person did it like this, or, you're just going to hurt my feelings if I can't have my way, so just let me have my way. It shouldn't work like that. You're a parent, 100% accountable for your own actions. What are you teaching your children if you're not? And if you leave, how is that going to impact them? This wife of this man seen her own mother cheat on her own father. So she knows how the impact of that is on a family. And maybe she's not cheating on her husband right now, but just the fact that she's not there for her children is impacting them. The 3 to 12-year-old range, highly susceptible to the family structure. And if you don't have a good, solid foundation for your family structure, that's not going to, progress to the next generation, to your kids. They're not going to have that same feeling of needing to have that family structure. Everyone sitting down at meals or working together on homework and things like that. And it's eventually going to, erode their entire family system. So that's something that they need to really look at between this husband and wife in this situation. Is she in it, and is he in it? If he's in it and she's not, and they're going to close on a house in 11 days, they need to probably stop that process, because that might be way too much for him to handle on his own if he's willing to take all 4 kids. They got to understand those 4 kids are not bargaining chips between the 2 of them. It's not 2 here and 2 there and switch every other weekend. Those kids also need to be, with their own siblings and things like that. Hopefully that's not the route they're going to go. I hope that they can resolve this, and I really hope that it helps the kids understand parents make mistakes. Parents mess up. Parents have issues the same as kids when they have behaviors. It's just a little different because the parent is supposed to be more responsible for themselves and for the children. So I hope that that is what is going to happen, that they were able to talk it out. The mom realizes that how she's acting is kind of selfish, and that she kind of reins herself back in. Maybe not go out every night, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, depending on what their kind of situation is, whatever part of the country they're in and things like that. I hope that she realizes her kids need to be number one, and that her husband, it sounds like, loves her immensely. So I'm going to wrap it up and say that I hope that they can resolve that issue. I hope anything that I've said or mentioned has helped them come up with some way to tackle this problem. Maybe open his eyes or her eyes on why she's doing it and maybe why he's acting the way he's acting. Maybe she is trying to break away from him because he might be trying too hard to keep her next to him at this point in time. That could be a very positive uh, solution as well, is that it could be that he is a little bit too possessive of her and had way too high of expectations. So once they sit down and figure that out and figure out, a better plan for her to go spend time with other people, because I think that's a healthy part of a relationship, is that a husband and wife have separate things to do every once in a while also. You can't be together all the time. You will literally, get on each other's nerves to the point where you will just force yourselves to be separate. And that is not healthy. It's healthy to go have something to do. Like a lot of men like to go work in the garage, go fishing, go hunting, things like that. The women go out shopping, have a little wine party or something like that once a week or once a month, but not every night. And I think that she has taken that advantage of pulling herself out of the family unit um, way too many times. So I hope they find a resolution for their issue with the troubled marriage. Now, don't forget, please, like I mentioned earlier, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/souladvisor1. Follow us on Twitter at souladvisor1, or if you go to twitter.com/souladvisor1. And please like and subscribe this video here on YouTube. And there's the YouTube channel name. Just click the subscribe button that's down there. You can like the video if it's helped you at all. If you don't like it, dislike it. That's fine with me too. If you have other advice for this couple, please put it in the comments. I will be posting this video on YouTube and also replying to the person that sent me this this issue so they can see it on YouTube and look at the comments also. Last but not least, please visit souladvisor.com. That is a wonderful place where I can put these videos, as well as you can submit your own issues to me if you have a problem where you need help. So I would love to say thank you all for watching this video. I hope that it has helped somebody. And if you have any comments, please put them in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.